welcome to another episode of Tuning with Trey. I am Trey. How are y'all doing? I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend. I'm filming this on a Saturday afternoon. It's a little dreary outside. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It doesn't always rain, but today, Lord, from early this morning, and it didn't stop until like 3 p.m. I'm a little bit more glammed up. As you guys see, I've changed my hair. I had to get my braids back in, babe. I had to get it back in. My braids are super long, y'all. Like, these are long. These go past my butt. And I really love them. I just got my hair done last night. And today, you see I got a little makeup on or whatever. I had to go to a funeral for my great aunt, my great grandmother's sister. She was the last living sibling. She passed away, but she passed away at the age of 103 years old, y'all. I've been so fortunate enough, I'm 34 years old, to growing up, like, it was always, people always thought it was weird when I would be like, oh, my great grandmother, my grandmother. And my family, like, they had kids young. So a lot of people would be like, I've never met my great grandparents, but I was fortunate enough to meet them. So Aunt Emma, hope you are in heaven with the rest of our family. I miss you so much, great grandma. I miss you, Granny. Y'all, I miss my granny. I could just hear her like voice in my head, just saying, hey baby, how you doing today? And I'm like, Granny, what you finna go do? Oh, I finna just go make some groceries. Just so cute. Like, my granny was just the cutest. But anyways, y'all, I'm going to be going through this YouTube video, as y'all probably see in the bio, tagline, whatever. I'm going to be talking about Karen Huger's grand finale of The Real Housewives of Potomac season 10. We'll touch a little bit about that. I know I'm a little bit late to the party because the episode came out on Sunday and it is Saturday. Y'all, this week has been super busy with me, like with work and everything, and it's just been a lot. Sorry, y'all. It was like, look at me trying to get myself together. Anyways, so we were talking about Karen Huger's Real Housewives of Potomac season 10 finale, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about Glorilla's sister. That was something that was trending this week. And then I wanted to touch on Saks Off 5th is closing. Like, my gosh, what an error. Okay, so, right, here we go. We're going to talk about Karen Huger real quick. So, I'm not going to give a play-by-play of the episode. I mostly want to talk about a dialogue of what's going on with the conversation around Karen, her, addiction. And I kind of want to talk about, I want to have a different way I want to take the conversation, because I'm somebody that comes from a lived experience of addiction, and I want to speak from like my point of view, what I've gone through, people in my family I've seen, and your friends, and then just want to kind of do that, just a little disclaimer. So Karen Huger was released from jail early. She actually sorry, y'all. Oh, child. Oh, Lord. My toenail broke off. Oh, Lord. My toenail broke off. That's just telling me that I'm about to go and get my toes done. Yeah, we're gonna go and get these toes done. That is... Anyways, it broke because I was trying to take off my shoe and it broke. Anyways, so Karen Huger was released from jail a little bit early. She was sentenced to, I believe it was 12 months, and then she did half of that time. And, I was excited to see her released. I was excited to see that she was free. Karen is a woman of a particular age, and I feel bad when it's elders that are in those conditions, because I have been someone who has spent a weekend in the county jail. When I tell y'all, it is awful. It's god awful. It sucks. It's terrible. It's a lot. So please get out. Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. He's just supposed to be near me. I don't want him near me shaking. Please go lay down. Thank you. So Karen came home. Well, like the start of it was like she came out of jail, and then there were obviously reporters and people lined up because this was a big story. And she gets into the car, she goes home, where she's able to greet her husband, she's able to greet her daughter Raven, she's able to greet her little sister, and then her cousin as well too. So she went around thanking them all for the amazing people that they are in her life and the support system that she needed over those several months. And y'all, like, people talk about jail as if it's like a cupcake, bro. I spent 2 days in jail and it was awful. I can imagine spending 6 or 7 months in jail. So, she spoke about her experience a little bit as just in regards of meeting some of the young women that were in there, talking about, her being a motherly figure, which I kind of figured that Karen would do. And I felt like people would take to her in county jail. And, she just seemed very grateful. She was holding her hands a lot. She was shaking a lot. And, it just seemed as if she was just happy to be free, which I can only imagine, So, she goes upstairs. She's like, I gotta wash the jail off me. And then a week later, Andy Cohen comes, and Andy is able to embrace Karen, speak to Ray. And then Karen's son was there. And we don't really see Karen's son. His name is, I think, Brendan. You don't really see him a lot on Potomac. I think he's been on there a handful of times, but like the earlier seasons. Like, I just don't think like this is his jush at all. And he seems a little bit more private. So, he was able to talk about how he helped his mother with her business and her affairs and things like that. I'm pretty sure maybe her daughter and of course maybe her sister was helping out with the home affairs and all the things while she was away. So it felt good to see Karen's son, because we don't get to see him. And it felt, as if he was there to support his mother, which was, awesome to see. So when they do the sit down interview, you definitely see Karen. She is like taking charge of the interview. She's like, let's talk about the video that broke the internet. Thomas Jefferson's concubine, you're poor and you're white. The wig sliding, I'm lit, falling down, car catching on fire. And, she spoke to Andy about, going to rehab, how she hadn't seen the video until, she was in rehab. And, how she also spoke about, the advice that her lawyers gave her. And they say, you need to take a plea deal because that video alone is going to nail you to the coffin, right? So she speaks a lot about that. The thing that I remember Karen doing in the interview a lot is she really spoke mostly about her abusing the pills, mixing out with alcohol. And even she said the night of the accident, she said, alcohol didn't call me, the pills did. And it seems as if she was mostly putting the blame of the addiction on the pills rather than wanting to come out and just say, I am an alcoholic and I am in recovering. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and that could be very hard to say. So, there's a lot of scuttlebutt online where people were saying that Karen didn't take accountability. Some people felt like she didn't really name, what happened. I felt like she did talk about her alcoholism in the video in different ways, but she didn't just straight out just say, I am a recovering alcoholic. What she was saying is that, she's in lifetime recovery. She spoke about liking NA rather than AA. And I feel that, if I can be completely honest, y'all, I don't think Karen wants to come out and tell us and even herself, I am an alcoholic. And the reason why I know this is because it was only a few years ago where I had an addiction issue to substances and alcohol. And it really took a huge toll on my life, to be honest. And I was using substances, I was using alcohol as a way to escape because of childhood trauma, going through so much in my life, starting with my childhood to high school to college and after, feeling like I had the world on my shoulders because I constantly, having to save everybody else, taking care of my little sister, and having to deal with an abusive and narcissistic mother. And I spiraled and I used those substances to be like, my life is hard. Like, I just need this. And I felt like in a lot of ways, when I was definitely heavy in it, I didn't want to just come out and say, Trayvana, you have a problem with your mental health and you are using these substances as a way to sugarcoat it and it feels good while the time being, but you're slowly destroying your life. And I felt in a lot of ways I wasn't, at the time, I was confronted by, I felt like in a lot of ways I wasn't ready to come out and say it. I wasn't ready to address my mental health. And, hey, y'all, I am diagnosed bipolar 2. I have ADHD. I have anxiety disorder. I have PTSD. I didn't really want to say that. I didn't want to put those labels on me, even though I knew deep down inside that's what it was. And so when I was confronted with my addiction by my close friends and family, there were people who cut me off. There are people who walked out of my life. There are people who held my foot to the fire, that held me accountable. And they're saying, hey, I know you've had a tough life, but you cannot use these substances as a way to mitigate that pain and as a way to excuse your bad behavior and how you're affecting people. And what I will say in the video, I felt like while Karen talked about, the sexual assault that she experienced when she was 19 and how she hadn't really dealt with that. And, things happen to us in our life and they can be horrible, right? And I'm speaking from experience, I'm the product of a teenage mother. I'm the product of a mother who didn't have a lot of education, didn't have a lot of skills, and the only skill that she knew was to sell drugs. And she was very, very good at it. I'm the product of being in foster care. I have Crohn's disease. I have all these things that have happened to me. I've been sexually assaulted. I've, been just through a lot. However, through all that, right, that does not give me an excuse to use substances in the way to try to ease that pain without getting actual help. And I actually had to be accountable for the ways in which my addiction affected other people, how disrespectful I was being, straight in people's homes and in people's faces, and I had to face that. And it was really, really tough. And I even went to, look at me telling y'all my business. I even went to a behavioral health, hospital because I was suicidal. And I had reached my breaking point to where I had made several attempts on my life to be like, I'm kind of done with this. And I had to sit in that hospital. I had to be removed from the public. I had to be removed from my phone, from social media. And I really had to face those demons and be like, okay, things happen to you in life, but there are other ways in which you can heal in a healthy way. Drugs and alcohol won't do that. So now that I told y'all enough of my business, let me shift this back over to Karen. I think what it is with Karen, and I just know this because I know what it's like for people to be like, girl, you got a problem. Everybody around you saying you had a problem. And you know what? We all owe Sharice an apology, and that includes myself because I thought Sharice was lying about Karen having an alcoholic problem. I didn't believe it. Now as a grown woman who's had addiction issues, I know if I go back to the different seasons, I can see Karen's addiction. And the ways in which she was hiding it to the point where it became too much and she got behind the wheel, crashed her car caught on fire, and she was doing this to a residential neighborhood. It's very dangerous to do shit like that, So I think with Karen, I feel like when she kept saying, the pills, I like NA, I felt as if she was saying I was prescribed those pills, I wasn't using them right, but somebody else gave them to me. So I feel like in some ways she was like, while I use them incorrectly, somebody else introduced me to that. With alcohol, I feel like it is very deep and personal because you don't need a prescription to go get alcohol. You can go get alcohol right down the street. You can get it delivered to you. You can go to the grocery store. You can go to an actual wine and liquor store. You can go to the goddamn gas station. You can get you some liquor depending on where you at, right? I live in the Pacific Northwest, and they sell like the little bottles, the little shooters and stuff at the gas station. So like that's you doing that. A doctor didn't prescribe that for you. You did that. So I think with Karen, I think she more than likely may drink in the future. She more than likely, we will not see her drink ever on the show. I think she won't be drinking around the girls. I don't think she will call the girls. I don't think she's going to be going anywhere getting lit in public because she's a public figure. Everybody's going to see her. And as soon as people see her take a sip of that drink, she's going to be plastered all over the social media, and she's going to be plastered in the news. She's going to be plastered all over TMZ. So I think what she's going to do, she's going to start getting more strategic with how she's drinking. Or even I think the interview, maybe it was way too soon. And like her coming out of jail, because the interview was only taken 1 week for her coming out of jail. It took me months after I was in therapy, after I went to the hospital to accept, hey, Trayvon, you got a problem. So maybe in the near future, you know, Karen might be might come out more and talk about her addiction and say, I am a recovering alcoholic. I'm in lifetime recovery, rather than just saying I'm in lifetime recovery. I think naming the substance is important. And, you know, we're not here to talk about me, but I was just talking to my sister about it, and she was like, yeah, girl, I remember you definitely had a problem because you was getting lit in front of me. And she was like, that's just something you would have never done. So I think when you actually name the substance, you actually name the alcohol, you actually name the thing, like I think you take the power into stepping into healing in a different way and being like, I feel like taking a little bit more accountability in it by just naming what it is and not using other substances or other traumas as a scapegoat to be like, hey, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, so that's my thing. The one thing I did want to touch on, which was kind of really cool, was Karen had a season high in viewers. It was 0.763 million viewers. You know, it earned a 0.14 rating in the demographic. The performance was high for the season. And that's only just telling us that people are here to see Karen. People enjoy Karen. And I'm excited to see her back, you know, with the rest of the girls. I do want to know more about, like, what's going on with her and Wendy. I don't know what that is, but I feel like Karen is just, she's just pulling for scraps or whatever. All right. So, that's that. We done talking about Karen. I like the way we actually was like, okay, Karen. They was going back and forth and she's like, okay, Karen. So I like saying Karen like that. So there's that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was Glorilla's sister coming out and just scalping Glorilla and talking about, you know, how she doesn't communicate with some of her siblings, how she doesn't do anything for her parents, how she didn't really retire her parents, how, you know, her mom is still working at FedEx, you know, how, you know, this sister, and it's so crazy because Glorilla and this sister, they call her BroRilla. They are twins. So I'm gonna call her Stubrilla. So you guys, Glorilla and Stubrilla, because it looks like if Glorilla was a stud and she never got any surgery. Like they look like twins. I feel like they look just like their daddy because it's like they got that nose, and it's a beautiful nose. So she came out, you know, on live, you know, speaking about different things, dropping, you know, pictures and videos and talking about how Glorilla was a liar. And the reason why I want to touch on this is because I'm the eldest out of my siblings. I, you know, was the first person in my siblings to go to college. You know, I was the first person to graduate from high school. I'm the oldest. I was the first person to go to college. I was the oldest. You know, I feel like I've done pretty well for myself, you know. I've, you know, traveled. I'm a director at a nonprofit. I have a decent career, and I've been in publications. You know, I've done my thing, right? I've been in multiple publications. You guys can Google me. You'll see. So, you know, I feel like in some ways, you know, I've been successful in my family. And, you know, when you're in a family where like none of our parents went to college, You know, my mom was a single mom. She knew to sell drugs. It's not like she had just a job she had or anything like that. And we come from, I will just be honest, y'all, my mom's side, we come from poverty. We come from poverty, you know, working class. And I feel like a lot of the folks in my generation and our parents, you know, people, they live a comfortable life. Sorry, you guys, there's a fly in here. They live a comfortable life, but, you know, very working class. Nobody in my family is, you know, pulling in millions of dollars, right? So I will say, because I'm the eldest, I've had a sense of responsibility with my siblings, with making sure they're okay, you know, helping out if they ask me for money. You know, my youngest sister, I pretty much have raised her. And since she was a kid, since she was a kid. And I noticed, like, when your siblings need help, but you're also trying to live your life and do things and stuff like that, right, too. So that's the only thing I feel like I can relate to with this issue. And it sucks because while I understand that, I'm gonna call her BroRilla, I feel like she has a lot of issues, and I feel like she has misguided anger. And because Glorilla is the obvious rich person in the family, people feel like she's pulling these millions of dollars. The music industry is not like it was 20 years ago. A lot of artists are not making money off of our little streams because we don't even buy albums no more. You know, they have to go on tour. You know, they have to get endorsement deals. But guess what? That money has to be split in multiple different ways because they have to pay the label. They have stylists. They have makeup artists. They have choreographers. You know, they have to pay for things. Even when they go on tour, they have to pay that shit back. Like, it's not free. So the thing with that is what they call is the black tax, is when one of us makes it, we have to take care of everybody else. And what that does in turn is it takes more resources from us building for our financial future because we have to make sure that everybody else is okay. Glorilla has 10 siblings. There is no way, even if she was worth like 4 or 5 million, like, to take care of 10 people, that is a lot of money. Chris Rock tells the funny story about how when he got a $20 million deal or whatever, how his family just quit their jobs. How, like, you know, a lot of athletes, literally, you can Google, have went broke from taking care of their family members. Keisha Cole speaks about giving and giving and giving, and in turn, that was taken away from her. So I feel like with, you know, BroRilla, I feel like I can understand her pain because she's like, bro, I'm out here struggling, you know, and she speaks a lot about the trauma that they grew up in, and I can see how it can be hurtful to hear about the things that happened in your household that were hurtful, about y'all not having beds. You know, BroRilla talked about how, like, they used to get hit for asking for food. Like, that shit is sad. Very, very sad. And it could be a lot to see, you know, Glorilla on a national platform for millions of people that will live in the internet for you know, ever, how she could talk about these things and in some ways profit off of it, right? I think the thing that BroRilla doesn't realize is, while it could be painful what happened to y'all, that is also what happened to Glorilla, and she is entitled to tell her story and to talk about the things that's happened to her. While, yes, and it would be nice for your siblings to help you, the ones who are rich, who got it, we also have to talk about why our parents were making the decisions to be financially irresponsible, to procreate and have multiple children that they already couldn't afford to take care of. We need to be talking about that. So yes, we could ask our sibling who got all the money, who got the Mercedes, who got the nice business, all that stuff, like, to help us out. And you can maybe feel some type of way if they ain't giving you what you want. But also too, you need to be talking to your parents about that. We have to have conversations with our parents and hold them accountable for the ways in which they created an environment for us not to flourish in the ways that we needed to. And they didn't provide the basic necessities. Providing beds, providing food, providing shelter, like, those are basic things that you are supposed to do for your children. To even hear more in the background of what happened in their childhood, I believe the state had to get involved to force Glorilla to go to school, like to have the parents take her to school. It seems like there was a lot that happened in that house, and I'm definitely not passing judgment because I come from a very, very colorful family where, you know, a lot of things have happened in my family. And it can be really sad. So I just wanted to speak on that and be like, I totally understand Glorilla can have her feelings about it. It sucks. Also, I can see Glorilla putting up boundaries to be like, I need to take care of me. I gotta put me first, Lucius. So there's that. So before I get off of here, because my thing is really low, the battery's really low, I wanted to talk about, y'all, Saks Off 5th is closing. While it sucks because people are losing their jobs, and you hate to hear that, right? I don't want to hear that. Y'all, the retail game is changing because Saks Off 5th has been a luxury retailer where they sell discounted luxury goods, but like you still get it from Saks, right? There's a Saks Fifth Avenue, that's the regular department store, cute, right? And then they have like the clearance store. I remember they still have I don't know if they still have that one in Atlanta, but they had one in Atlanta, and it was like by Lennox because one of the homies worked there. I remember my brother got me a gift card for Saks. I don't know how he got that fucking gift card, but bro, I got him a Gucci wallet and I got me some stuff too. It was like a $1,000 gift card. I don't know how my little brother got that gift card. He's like, I came up. So y'all, just telling y'all that Saks Off 5th is closing. They're having a liquidation sale. Everything is on sale on the website. I went, the shit still is priced too high for me. I'm really trying to save money, and I have like a lot of financial goals I gotta hit this year, and spending money on things that I really don't want. And it's like some of the stuff is like I didn't cute, like wasn't cute. I checked a couple of handbags, like that's all. And I was like, this shit is still high as fuck. This shit is higher than trash pussy. But y'all, anyways, thank you so much for listening to my little chit chat. Thank you for coming to another episode of Tune In with Trey. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And I will see y'all soon. I can't wait to show y'all my Super Bowl outfit. It's going to be so cute. It's going to be so fly. But I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a wonderful day. Drop down in the comments and tell me what do you guys think about my opinions. What do you guys think about the topics? Do you agree, disagree, all of that? And yeah, make sure you guys like the video. Peace, y'all.